Hey algebra friends, I am glad that you are watching this video because you are about to get some really big calculator hacks, some things that will make your life a lot easier when you are factoring polynomials. So today in this video, we're going to talk about how to find factors of a number and how to find the greatest common factor of a set of numbers, both ways using Desmos. So let's jump right in. So this first one says, what are the factors of 18? Without the calculator, you would make a factor table. So let me just kind of remind you of how you would have done this. If you want to find the factors of 18, you would have started with 1 and you would have said, well, 1 times 18, that equals 18. That pen is actually really tiny. Let me try a little bit bigger. One times 18, and then you would have said, well, 2 times what number gives you 18? That would have been 2 times 9. And then you would have done 3. 3 times what number gives you 18? That would have been 6. Then you would have tried 4. 4 times what number? That doesn't work, so you would have crossed it out. Then you would have tried 5. 5 times what number? Nothing's going to give me 18, so you would have crossed it out. And then when you get to 6, you already see 6 in your list, so you know your list is complete. There's no reason to write 6 times 3 when you already have 3 times 6. So at this point, you would stop because you know your list is complete. So these would be the factors of 18. 1 times 18, 2 times 9, or 3 times 6. Making a table like that is not very painful when you have a small, easy number to work with, right? Like we could say, oh, this is 1 times 20 or 2 times 10. 3 doesn't work. 4 times 5. And then when we get to 5, oh, look, we already have a 5, so we know we can stop. So that is how you have been taught to find factors. But sometimes the numbers get bigger or you just can't remember off the top of your head. And so I want to show you how you can use Desmos to find factors. Okay, so let me just go ahead and show you 20 since I already have that one done here. You're going to type in your calculator y equals whatever number you're trying to factor over x. If I'm trying to factor 20, I would type in y equals 20 divided by x. Let me show you that. Y equals 20 divided by x. Whoops. 20 divided by x. You get this really funky graph. You're like, how does that help me? Well, if you go to the settings wheel and you switch it over to table mode. Now, some of this we don't need to know. Like, we don't need to know 0 or negative numbers. But we can start here at 2, and if we keep hitting enter, it will continue to give us values. Now, I have a 5 twice. Remember, once you've doubled up, you can be done. And all the decimals are not actually helpful, so I would have gotten rid of that one. And this would have been my full factor list, which is exactly what we found. So let's do this again for our next one. Our next one says the factors of 24. So I'm going to type in y equals 24 divided by x. I'm going to go to my settings wheel, and I'm going to change it to table view. I like to just backspace out these that aren't helpful, and then I'm going to enter down until I get repeat numbers. So I'm just going to keep entering down until I get, oh, here we have 6, 4. We've already got 6, 4 in our list, so we're going to stop. And you don't have to do this, but for me, anytime it's a decimal, I get rid of it because it's not pretty. So this is my pretty list of factors. 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, and 4 times 6. Those are the factors of 24. Let's try another one. What are the factors of 45? Now, if you already have this going in your calculator, of course, you can just change the top number. Oh, it didn't actually change. I thought it would. So y equals 45 divided by x. Go to your settings wheel, go to table view. I'm just going to clean it up a little bit, and then I'm going to add to it, right? I'm just going to keep hitting enter until I start to see repeat numbers. Boop, boop. 9. Okay, so I've already got 9 and 5. So I'm going to get rid of all the ones that are decimals. Yucky, 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 yucky. I'm going to get rid of this one. I'm going to get rid of this one. This is my full list of factors for 45. 1 times 45, 3 times 15, or 5 times 9. Let's practice some more. What are the factors of 63? I think I can just change it here. Let me try this. 63, whoops. Hey, we can just change it there. So, well, I don't know if that's helpful because I already deleted a lot of stuff here. I'm gonna just go ahead and do this. Whoops. Yeah, that's not helpful because then you have to actually type it in. Let's go back to y equals 63 divided by x. Go to our settings wheel, get our table. I'm gonna go ahead and clean it up a little bit, and I'm just gonna keep entering until I start to see some of those repeats. All right, 7 and 9, 9 and 7. I'm repeating, so I know that I'm done. I'm gonna go through and get rid of any of my decimals. And this is my full factor list for 63. Now you might be asking like, well, when am I ever gonna use this? I promise, next week we're gonna start factoring polynomials, and you're gonna be asked a question a whole bunch of times, and it's gonna be, what multiplies to give you 63 that adds to give you a number? So if it said what multiplies to give you 63 that adds to give you 16, you would look at your whole list and you would say, oh, 9 plus 7, yay, that works. And so that would be the ones that you would use. So we are going to use these factor tables to help us figure out what numbers we're looking for when we factor polynomials. Right now, I'm just going over the calculator shortcuts. I promise next week you'll appreciate some of these calculator shortcuts. So again, you type it in, y equals whatever number you're looking for over x. Go to your settings wheel, switch it to table, and then you don't have to clean it up first if you don't want to. Of course, you can just keep entering until you start to see some repeat numbers. Have I not repeated yet? Jeez. There we go. 12 and 8, 8 and 12. Those are repeats. So I'm going to go through and clean up with all the decimals. Goodbye, decimals. You get demoted out of my list. All right, there's my full factor list for 96. There are a lot of different things that you could multiply together to get to 96. If it said, if you're trying to figure out which pair adds to 28, there's only going to be one pair that works. And in this case, it would be 4 and 24. Okay, so that's how you can use the calculator to find factors of just a number. You will also need to be able to find the greatest common factor. So if it had asked you, what is the greatest common factor between 6 and 8, and you were doing this in elementary school before you had access to the calculator, you would have made your factor list for 6. And then when you get to 3, oh, you already have 3, so you'd be done. Then you'd make your factor list for 8. 3 doesn't work. 4 we've already got, so now we're done. Once you have those two factor lists, you would ask yourself, well, what is the biggest number they have in common? They both have a 1, but that's not the biggest. The biggest that they have in common is a 2, so your greatest common factor would be a 2. Great news with our best friend Desmos. We don't actually have to make all those factor lists anymore. You can use your calculator. And this is a really cool feature. You have to go to functions to find it. And it is called GCD for greatest common denominator, but it can also be used as GCD for greatest common factor. So we're going to click CD, and then we're going to type in the two numbers that we're looking in between. I think the next one was 6 and 33, and it tells you the greatest common factor is 3. Awesome. Let's do 72 and 99. So we would, again, let me show you the steps. You'd go to functions. You'd scroll all the way down until you found GCD. And then you would type in your two numbers with a comma in the middle. And the greatest common factor would be 9. Let's look at it again. Now, of course, if you already have GCD pulled up, you can just change the numbers here. Like, you don't have to retype it all in again. But I just want to keep showing you so that you can remember how to get to it. If you wanted to find the greatest common factor between 3 or 4 numbers, you can do that, right? You would just go functions, scroll to GCD. Whoops, I missed it. There it is. And then type in your whole list of numbers with commas in between. 18, 36, I don't even remember. 73. Close your parentheses. Wah, wah, wah. Okay, hold on just a second. I definitely meant for this to be a 72. I don't know where I got 73 from. And why is this frozen now? There we go. So then your greatest common factor would be an 18. You can pull 18 out of all of those. 18 divided by 18 would be 1. 36 divided by 18. Why is this not typing? I'm having issues. I guess I have to type it in down here. Would be 2. And then 72 divided by 18 would be 4. So you're probably like, well, how does this help me? I promise we will look at it next week in class. But there will be times where you are factoring and you need to factor out the greatest common factor first. So you might see a polynomial that says like 18x squared plus 36x plus 73. And you got to factor out stuff. Oh, let's make it even better. Let's put an x there. So you would have to find the greatest common factor between these three numbers, which is why Desmos helps so much, because if you type that in here, you would see that the greatest common factor is 18. So you know you're going to be pulling an 18 out. I probably shouldn't have made it so complicated with the x's, but we have 2 x's here, 1 x here, and 1 x here. We can also pull out an x. 18 divided by 18 is 1. If you had 2 x's and you took 1 x out, you'd be left with 1 x inside. 36 divided by 18 would be 2. If you had an x and you took away an x, there's no more x's left. And then 73 divided by 18 was 4. We had an x, we took it out, there's no more x's. This is how you could factor out the greatest common factor. And that is one of our very common factoring methods that we're going to be using. So finding it in Desmos just really helps make it easier.